with you each kind of talking, introduce yourself and a little bit about your company, and then we'll get into the more meat and potatoes of what I want to talk about regarding, leadership during this extremely challenging time. So I'm going to start with Nicole. She's to my right. I don't
Yeah.
know how I look on your screens. And then we'll just go down with Tyler, Vikram, Tony. Bela is retired, but you have a lot of wisdom. So I wanted to get, you tell a little, give us still some of your background because, incubator, IBM, startups, and the like. So Nicole, start us off with who you are and your company.
Yeah, so Nicole Snow, and I am the founder and CEO of Darn Good Yarn, which is based in Half Moon now, originally Schenectady based. And 2 years ago, we were named the fastest growing company in the capital region. Definitely a lot's changing in the past 2 years, though, for sure. But what we really specialize in is I consider myself to be a triple bottom line based entrepreneur, which means whenever I go to attack a problem at my company, I'm looking at how it affects the planet, how it affects people in the supply chain, and then as well as staying profitable. A lot of people think that we're a nonprofit, but we are a for-profit business. And in that, since I started the company 12 years ago, very much an accidental entrepreneur, I've worked with really amazing co-ops around India and Nepal, and we've been able to source clothing and yarn to serve like a creative lifestyle community, which is like around $44 billion industry that we serve, with really unique items that almost all have a recycled base behind them. So to date, we've saved over 2 million pounds of material waste from entering into landfills, and we give sustainable employment to about 600 workers between those two countries.
That helps you sleep at night.
Yeah, it does.
That's great. That's awesome. Tyler.
You
got a couple companies. What's that?
You say Tyler or Bela?
I said Tyler.
Okay. I don't know why it sounded weird. But nice to meet you, Nicole. We've never met. I've seen some of your stuff in articles and stuff. Very, very cool what you're doing.
Okay.
And Vikram, nice to meet you as well. I don't think we've ever met in person either. I know you've done some very cool things too.
That's what the Bizlab does. We bring people together. I'm sorry.
This is definitely the coolest panel. We're like the best.
You are.
Go ahead. So I'm Tyler Wrightson. I'm the founder of Elite Cybersecurity. We help organizations solve the hacker problem and win the hacker war. We do that by hacking into them. I also own Stacks Espresso Bar. We have 4 locations and a co-working space, and we do roasting now. We started that almost the same time that I started Elite, which was just over 6 years now, almost 6.5.
And where are your coffee shops?
Lark Street, Albany, downtown Albany on Broadway, Troy, and Newton in Massachusetts.
So how's that one going? That's your newest one, right?
Yes. Well, actually, Troy is technically the newest one.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, it's weird. I tell people I'm literally like dealing with both ends of the spectrum from COVID. Mm-hmm. I've got one business booming and one that is literally completely shut down. So that's how it's going. It's shut down.
I'm so glad. I'm not glad about that, but I'm glad to have you on the panel because you can give us a lot of perspective, and I think people will benefit from that. I got to pause on Vikram for a second because I have invited him to pretty much every event at the Bizlab. He's never come back. I don't know what it was I said. Now you came back once, but not for an event, but we just chatted. But so when you said yes, I was like, is this Vikram Agarwal? So you were the very first presenter at the Bizlab Clarkson Lunch, and I think almost pretty soon after that, you wound up selling your company and starting a new company. So give a little bit about yourself and the company, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Again, great to be here with the folks on the panel. Again, Nicole, hi. Bela, again, known for a long time. Tony, I think we met with Proctor's at that immigrant show, right?
Oh, right.
Your son, his rendition was awesome. I was impressed, right? Again, poor guy. I think you were making him perform more than he wanted to, but it was awesome, right? So again, I've been part of the capital region health entrepreneurial ecosystem now for about 20 years. And we had a company earlier called eTransmedia. It was on healthcare IT. And our second company, Levrex, It's also healthcare IT focused. We are located in downtown Troy. We're in the Freer building. So we're in the center of action in downtown Troy. Our past business, we focused on physician practices and health systems. Our current business, we are focused on pharmacy spend by payers and self-insured. Again, it's been exciting. So 20 years back, I had no idea about US healthcare. Now I'm kind of the expert. And again, it just gets bigger and better, right? So whether it's Democrats or Republicans, doesn't matter. The healthcare spend just keeps on getting higher and just keeps on getting messier. Now, I'm not complaining as an entrepreneur, but as a citizen, I'm like, okay, guys, there's no end to this. But again, overall, happy to be here, and again, look forward to it.
Great to have you. And we'll go to Tony and close it out with Bela.
Hello, everybody. Hopefully you guys are staying safe. And so tired being home. I really am. I've been seeing that some of these restaurants are going to open, so I'm excited. I can't wait to be one of the first one. I think it's going to be just outdoors for now, but I'm ready. I'm ready for sure. But I'm eating so much. My wife is such a great cook that, but it'd be great to get something different. I'm looking forward to it. You guys know.
I didn't ask that question. I asked you who you are.
Oh, sorry. I'm a professional eater. I like to eat. No.
And a little bit about your company. And then we'll get into the
Tony Cimitella, President, CEO, TransFinder. Wow. Things have definitely pivoted for us. Our main business is for helping school district manage their transporting students from and to school every day. And things changed when schools closed. So what do we do now? And we determined that a lot of our clients still needed to transport things, specifically food. They're bringing food to 30 million students a day. That's how many students.
I didn't realize it was that high. And then you're also the founder and president of the New York Bizlab, which is what brings us all together. So
I'm excited about that. The Bizlab is a great environment. And, every once in a while, a touch base, those guys they're going in there. They obviously recognize we all can work from home, but as a startup company, these guys recognize you need the energy from each other. So I'm super excited. They've not missed that many days. I've been in touch with them. I've been hearing from Sarah, especially. I know you have too, Rick. So good things are happening for sure. But
very good.
Thank you for coming tonight.
All right. So I'm Bela Musitz. I know all you guys, all you folks. And I guess the big news in my life is last July, I hung up my professorial robes and I retired. And I highly recommend retirement. It's been the best job I've had in my whole life. It's quite nice. And I'm keeping busy doing all sorts of things. And sometimes I wonder, how did I ever have any time to work? And I can remember people who retired telling that to me. And I'm going, you're crazy. Well, all of a sudden I'm there. And it's like, oh my gosh, my calendar sometimes is more full now than it was back then. But I'm looking forward to a good conversation this evening. The previous ones I was on were very good. So let her rip, Rick.
Well, and one thing about Bela is we joke about this, but with the Bizlab Clarkson lunches, especially the ones in person, I had to remind him that it was Thursday, the date, because every day is Saturday for Bela. So
yeah, I do.
I know that. I was there for 1 year, so I agree.
There have been more than one occasion where I look at my wife and I go, what day is it today? I don't know.
Wow.
And she says, this is the shuffleboard day. This is shuffleboard day. So.
You can make donation check to the Nicole Snow Early Retirement Fund.
Nice. I like that.
Anytime. I'm all about it.
I like that.
Is your wife okay with your retirement, Bela?
Yes. Well, should I go get her and you can ask her? Yeah. I think it's okay.
So one thing I want to make sure that I highlight early on is that this is a conversation, and just what you guys did, we can do lots of that. So I don't ask you a question. Nicole says something. Tyler, you want to jump on it. If you want to disagree with her, just be nice about it. But it's okay.
I have to be nice, Rick?
What?
Yes.
I have to be nice?
No, you were in the military. I'm not going to tell you what to do. So, but, you know, I want you to not feel like you have to wait for a question to come to you. I don't like those kind of panels where you have to wait to go down the thing. So just feel free to jump in. I thought I would start off with a lighter question about the quarantine. We all know that this has been a devastating thing. It has impacted so many people. Lives have been lost. So I'm not making light of that in any way, shape, or form. But in light of having to stay home for so much of this time, I'm assuming that's what you've all done. You can tell me a little bit about how your life has changed. We'll get into that in a second. But I'm wondering, is there any one thing that you actually like about not having to travel to work? Like for me, I definitely like that, you know, I kind of change my shower time to like midday sometimes because I'm like, I don't really need to, no one knows that I haven't showered yet. So I kind of delay that a little bit. Tony, I didn't tell you that in the past, so just so you know, I don't always shower first thing in the morning. But I showered 20 minutes before this call because I'm like, my hair was kind of, anyway. So is there anything, and we can go in any order, one thing that maybe you actually have kind of come to like from having a slower pace maybe?
I'm very much, I wound up doing a Berkman assessment during all of this when we went down and going into work from home. And I didn't realize how much like my personality lines me up with doing work by myself. And when I think, you know, you're running a business and people are just pinging you all the time, I didn't realize that it was like actually causing like distress in me. And I was just like dealing with it because you have to have, you know, sometimes you just have this tight grip on, you know, we're a very small company. And I think being at home now, I'm able, like, that's really what I love the most is being able to just sort of sit back and think about problems and like put my own creative spin on them. And it gave me like, I was just able to just sort of take a breath. Things are still just as busy. I mean, like Bela, to your point, like my calendar is, I actually have an out of office on all the time. Like, hey everyone, I don't hate you. I'll get back to you when I get back to you. I'm just on Zoom calls all day, but it's very busy in that way. But to just have the space, and I think being in the safe space of my house also allows me to really reflect and be creative on the company as well. And what that's allowing for Darn Good Yarn is we've completely transformed. I mean, in 8 weeks, everything's off the PPP timer right now. So we're at the end of the 8 weeks of getting funded. And I say, like, where we were at week 1 to where we are now, like we've shut this down like Fort Knox. And I would have never had the guts to maneuver like that and as quickly as we have if I was in the office every day sort of getting pummeled by just a lot of input.
Good. Yeah, it's sort of interesting because the interruptions now take more effort, right? Mm-hmm. So for someone to interrupt you, they have to write you an email, or they have to call you on the telephone, where before they can just wander over to your office.
Yeah, so like someone will pop up in Teams. Can you talk now? I'm like, okay. Now we're having a face-to-face. Anybody else? Something that they like? Go ahead, Tyler.
I've got 2 questions for Nicole. What did you call that assessment? Berkman or Beekman?
Berkman. And I'm happy I can hook anyone up with it after I have a really great consultant that administered it and went through it with me.
Cool.
He's over in Vermont, and it was actually through EO, through Entrepreneurs Organization. And the nice thing about Berkman, I was looking for a second in command at the company, and I was assessing if the person who's been with me for a very long time, Amanda, like a lot of people probably, I think, know her as my number 2. We were trying to make sure that we were really the right fit. So it's sort of like eHarmony for C-suite.
Cool.
And we found out, though, it's like, you know what, we could probably make it work for the next few years, but it wouldn't actually it wouldn't allow the most amount of growth. And like we were able to have a very transparent conversation around that, which is
cool.
It's really cool. I recommend it to like everyone out there.
That's great. Awesome. That's awesome. That's a good takeaway.
Number 2, are you drinking wine?
What?
I am, because I have been at my warehouse since 6:30 this morning, and I have packed out over 800 orders today. So
are we allowed to do that? I didn't know.
I'm jealous. I was gonna bring some whiskey.
I'm sure you got a bottle behind you.
Yeah, you have a bottle behind you. We're all adults here.
I know. I don't know.
You know, her questions. She's gonna start slurring a little bit later in the conversation, but
we'll wait for that. I have a 3-year-old running around downstairs, and I have been working. Like, what are we on? I'm out on hour 13 now. So here we are.
Tyler, anything you actually like about self-quarantining here?
Yeah, where do I start? Yeah, I like everything about it. It's I think the biggest thing is, so I've got a 15-month-old at home, and it's just been perfect timing, getting to spend since her first birthday together every day is the best. Yeah. But then also I'm in a similar boat. I mean, you talk about getting pinged to death every single day. Being physically at the office makes that even worse. So here it's like, if I need time, I just step away from my computer and not worry about it. And frankly, just the leveling of the playing field from everybody working from home is just great. I love it.
That's great.
Yeah.
I do. I feel like, Tony, I get to see you more than ever. I mean, there were times that he would be so hard. I'd have to text his assistant and say, can you find out where Tony is? He's on the 3rd floor. I go to the 3rd floor, and then they go, no, you just missed him. I'm like, it would make me the phantom. He's on the 2nd floor, because now I can just I get him a lot easier. So, Tony, go ahead.
Well, Rick, I thought I was actually a hardworking person in the past. I really thought I got home late, would come home late, and a lot of times I would help my son with his homework, and I'm tired, and it's so hard to just turn it off when you walk in the door. Get the dog, of course. I mean, the wife. It's all these things, right? It's great. It's a beautiful thing, but I have to be honest with you. It's hard to turn it right off. So I walk in the door. I'm thinking, man. But I tell you, I'm driving in the car. I'm like, man, what did I get done? I've been at work for 12 hours. What did I actually get done? So I thought I was such a hard worker, but I just didn't get anything done. Obviously, I could just walk in and go say hello to my family. I love that my dog is next to me all the time. I'm going to miss all that. But I realized I was just a lazy bum before. I was just a lazy guy. What was I doing? I was going to the office, sit at my desk, and I couldn't sit at my desk. I felt like, I got to get up. I got to go say hello to some people. And if Rick's around, I'm going to sit at his desk. How's it going, Rick? What's going on? Really, I feel like I wasted so much time. You know that?
So you feel like you're much more productive.
Oh, my gosh. I feel like that's what I should have been doing for 31 years out of my 32 years of business. Because
so does that mean that when we get back to the office, you're going to send me to my office and say, get on Zoom? Well, I can't talk to you in person. I'm sorry.
I'm going to be so inefficient. So I became such an efficient, but I don't know when to stop. Honestly, I don't know when to stop.
Well, that's the line. The line is hard.
That's my problem. And honestly, I feel like now at the end of the day, I got something done. It's not too many days I go to sleep exhausted. Around 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm exhausted. And I shower every day.
That's good. That's a good thing. I can't lie and say
I have to shower the way I am. But that's a whole nother topic, right? But I tell you, I feel like I am in touch with people in the company. I feel like that show, The Office, right? You guys know that, right? And I always felt like people think I'm Michael. I got that. I always got that. Right? Do you feel the same way, Nicole?
Oh my God.
Wait, Nicole, you felt he was Michael, or you felt like you were
No, I feel like I'm Michael Scott all the time. I'll have a meeting, and then the last sentence, I'm like, oh God, I Michael Scotted it again.
It's not that no. It's not that I think I'm Michael Scott. I think that my employees think I'm Michael Scott.
Oh, well.
So I'm thinking. So there was a period of time like everyone was talking about the office, like they wouldn't talk about me.
That's funny.
I didn't do anything at the office. Listen, that's at least my opinion. I don't think they can say that because I want to be in touch with everybody, and I love it. I really love that. That's something that is a completely different. I didn't think I could do this, but I really am in touch with the entire company, and now I can feel say I'm actually working now. I don't know what I was doing before.
Vikram, how about you? Anything you like about this social distancing that we're all kind of forced to do?
Not really. I hated it. Again, I caught up on my drinking. The first few weeks it was fun. After that, I got tired of my drinking. And after that, you
caught up on your drinking. So like you have like an assignment and like, oh, I got caught up now. Okay.
Yeah. And quality time with family, it's very important, but too much quality time is also not good. So after a point, I was like, okay, I'm done with this, right?
So you're ready to get back to the office.
I could not wait. Yesterday, I could not wait.
He's all set now. You've had a delay. Like, there's like a technology debt. You had an alcohol debt. So now you've paid it.
And
so Bela, you kind of already were self-quarantining. So is there anything...
and I'm tired of Zoom. Zoom?
You're tired of Zoom? I hear you. Bela?
I'm sorry. I found recently that I don't actually have to turn my camera on for most Zoom meetings. And here's my little hack. I put my headphones on and I go for a walk. I was on a long ass call. I got 4 miles done. I was like, I'm done with my wine time now, right, Tyler?
That's true. Yeah, you can do like a little treadmill stuff too. I've done some treadmill stuff during some calls.
Totally.
Bela, any change for you? Pretty much.
So the only thing that I like about this is there's less traffic on the road.
That's true. That's
about the only thing that I've said is a positive. Everything else has been a negative as far as I'm concerned.
Definitely.
So let's get into a little bit more of the serious stuff, and that is the challenges it has presented. I want to get into. I'll just give you kind of a broad strokes of where I want to go with this. Some kind of challenges you've faced. How have you adapted? How have you adapted as a leader, not just as a company, to the challenges? Have you had to, have some things kind of work, but you had to make tweaks? I'd love to hear about those kind of things. How have you changed as a leader? What kinds of things are you going to bring back to the office when things go back to quote unquote normal? Those kind of things. So anybody want to just talk in general? I mean, I hope you all can jump in about just the challenges that this has had on you and on your company, and how you've been able to adapt. Tyler, I'll start with you because you mentioned two sides of the coin. You've got the tech company, and then you got the in-person coffee shops, and how one is soaring, and I can guess which one is soaring, and I can guess which one is not. So how do you adapt? And you can talk about each one. Go ahead. That's such a tough question. How have I adapted? I don't know. It's been very simple and organic and natural. I think, like most places. I mean, sure, it's craziness, but I mean, I feel like that's just every other business, right? Like there's always uncertainty. There's always these weird curveballs that you get. And it's like, this was just another new curveball. So for Elite, it was instantaneous and easy. We had every system in place we needed to. And from day one, if you work at Elite, I tell you, I don't care where you work from. And I don't even typically care when you work. As long as you get your work done, move to Florida, move to Alaska, I don't really care. So it was literally virtually no change except for, again, kind of this like leveling of the playing field where now if I couldn't, shoot out to New York City or Florida at the moment's notice, clients and prospects are just kind of used to it. Like, oh, this is what we need to do. We'll hop on a phone call or a Zoom call and go from there. And all the new security concerns with everybody working from home, it's obviously been a little bit of a boom. But, are you having some specific things that they're going to you for that you hadn't had before, or just like what's driving the interest, for Elite? It's a mix of just organic growth. I think roughly maybe 20% of what we've seen is because now with people working from home and working remotely, they're like, okay, how does this impact security? And that's exactly, I mean, I don't want it to come across, whatever, pandering or whatever, but that is one of the times that they should ask that. It's like, okay, so much has changed in our technology environment, and how does that impact us from a security perspective? So we get asked that question, we have great conversations, and people are more willing to be like, okay, yeah, now's the time we should look at our security posture. But Stacks is a strange one. I mean, it was weird in the beginning to witness like these like two very big drops, right? So it was like when it initially happened, it's like we could see clear as day we're down 20% from where we should be, and it was like that for a little bit. And then as
more information started coming out, and it was clear why people should be quarantining or at least social distancing. We put it to a vote to the whole team. What we started with was we told everybody, look, this is a weird time. If you don't feel comfortable coming into work, then don't come into work. You've got a job waiting for you as soon as you feel comfortable, but we don't need a reason. But then it got to a point where we said, are we being socially irresponsible by staying open and contributing to the curve being higher? And so we put it to a vote to the whole team, and everyone weighed in and said, yeah, this doesn't feel right anymore. So we said, okay, we'll close down and we'll revisit soon. And so Lark is opening tomorrow for the first time. Reduced hours, increased safety measures and all that kind of stuff. And then we're going to be trying to phase in the other ones. But yeah, you talk about polar opposites. Stacks does not have a single employee right now. So
are they considered furloughed, or did you just lay them off and you're going to have to rehire new people?
They're technically furloughed.
Okay.
So most, a couple people moved away. And so obviously we'll need to replace them. But all of our existing folks are coming back in a limited capacity. They're going to take limited hours and shortened shifts and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. And then kind of grow into it as the hours grow.
Yeah, see where we're at. Honestly, I have a guess as to what we're going to look like from a revenue perspective and business perspective tomorrow, but it's probably just as accurate to flip a coin right now.
Okay, I'm a little bit, just the reporter in me can't turn it off. So does the tech side making way more though is it overcompensating for what the loss is?
Well, Stacks never contributed to my income. I always dumped 100% of the profits right back into Stacks. So it's had no personal impact on me. And luckily, we got the PPP. So I think ultimately Stacks will probably be fine. I kind of think we'll be in a better spot for a whole bunch of reasons, not the least of which is this was a once in a lifetime opportunity to take a step back and say, what are we doing and what are we trying to accomplish and what are the things that we should focus on fixing? And I think we're going to do that. I think this is a game changer year for us.
Good. That's good. I'll come back to that. Nicole, I'm going to go to you next. Now, I hope you don't mind me saying this publicly, but you were not wanting to talk to me a month ago, but I had to kind of, you go, okay, I'll talk to you now. Is that okay that I said that, or I had to edit that?
Yeah, no, I think it's good because I've done a couple of panels, it's at this point, it's like, I need to just be very transparent, and it's almost like, I feel like, you see vanity metrics like, oh, we haven't laid anyone off or we haven't furloughed, and like what's happened at Darn Good Yarn, because and I get we have this kind of shine of we sell yarn and we have this really impactful business. And what's happened starting in January. So here's how the layout of Darn Yarns. This is like confessions time. So yeah. I had evaluation done in the company, and I wound up hiring a CFO at the end of last year. And we wound up, we realized that, we don't want to focus on growth. So we already went into 2020 saying, what we're going to do right now is write narratives on every single process in this company. And I told her, I said, I want our company to be run like a public company. So however this happens and however it flows down into my financial sheets, whatever that looks like, I need to have total accountability for that. So we were already in this battle mode of rip and tear. And I joke about it being like Kill Bill at Darn Good Yarn. And it was. And so I started the year at 21 employees, and we were in a hardcore fat trimming mode. And looking at everything. So right now, as we stand today, I started the year 21 employees. I'm at 8 employees right now. So it's been draconian. I have been locking this place down. I keep saying, I'm locking it down like Fort Knox. And I remember my banker right at the beginning when everyone was still in that weird space of what does the PPP mean? And no one, there were 3 weeks there where it was really you were just in free fall. And she said to me, she's like, this is going to be survival of the fittest. And this is when I went back to my CFO and I started really for the first time. I've had my business for 12 years. For the first time running my business by the numbers and really chomping into it and having time to actually look at this and think about what these decisions mean. So while I say, okay, of course I want to create jobs, not having my ego tied up in that and saying, you know what, this is what's going to get me to the next day in my company. And I think there's for me, there's like a little bit of shame in that. And like, that's where I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to expose it because this is like where we are. And when you ask the question, Rick, about adapting as a leader, we've tried to create this community and this like just this really great organization of individuals. And I kind of got caught up in that. And then I said, oh, time out. We're not generating the amount of value that I really need. And I'm now connecting all the dots and they're not aligning. So this has to happen. So that process started to happen at the beginning of the year anyway. There was debt run up in the company as well. And so as we've now flushed through, even in this COVID environment, my ops manager and I mean, we've been in a slugfest. I mean, we've wiped out a ton of debt that accrued on the company. And we're now in a super healthy position. I mean, like probably the healthiest it's been in years.
But it was painful.
I mean, it's painful. I mean, because you develop a family and then, you have what I always joke about, like baby mama drama within the four walls of Darn Good Yarn. Because it's like there's always something. And it's like, I didn't realize how much of that was actually degrading what the hell it is we were supposed to be doing. So now, like, we talk about working from home and I'm like, I don't want to hear about all the high school antics. Like, we need to focus on running this business because like George Hurst said this to me, he's like, no margin, no mission. And like, that's just been like right around in my head. And that's really where we are. Like, and I just see it as being, and people are talking about pivoting. I'm looking at this as truly an evolution where I'm starting to talk to now 3PLs and saying, hey, how can we do a maybe blended model where part of my team comes in and we're doing the stuff that's really unique to us that I like, am not comfortable. Necessarily like outsourcing. We're starting to look at things, I think, in a much smarter, more elegant way versus just like, okay, we need to throw a body at this, and go. Yeah. And then what winds up happening and when you're in a high growth environment, you're like, okay, what do all of you do? And like, how are you driving value in my company? Because like, I'm not getting paid more. I'm working harder and I'm not getting paid more. That tells me there's an issue. So that's really like, it's been like a big cleaning. And I think COVID, we were already on that path, but COVID just like was a total enzyme to it.
So go to Vic round, but he went dark on me here. So we'll go to Vic.
I'm back.
So how about you? What kind of challenges has this presented to you, your company, and how have you adapted to that?
Now, luckily, as a company, we are still early in our growth. So we have only 20 employees, and we are a software company. So working from home was easy for our employees, and we basically have two target customers. We have health insurance companies, and we have health systems, right, and physician practices. Health insurance companies are doing very well because if anybody pays one bill, it's their health insurance premium. So every health insurance company which was going to have a deficit this year is now having surplus. You guys must have read the news where they're refunding premiums, right, back to customers. Now, hospitals and doctors, I never thought I would see a time where doctors were being laid off, right, because they were. So when you look at Albany Med, when you look at St. Peter's, Ellis, they're really challenged, right? And so that side has been challenging because at the end of the day, they are the end user of our software. And our model right now is enterprise software, right? So when you sell $3-5 million deals, Zoom won't cut it, right? You need it's more high touch, right? So it's a long sales cycle. It's more touching, more wooing. So high touch. I'm just waiting for things to open up because again, we have been in many discussions. They should have gone further by now, but fine, it's a holding pattern. But I'm just waiting where we can go out and have a decent, normal business meeting, right?
Have you been able to keep all your employees?
Yes.
So you're actually hiring, aren't you? Did I see? I thought I saw a story that you were hiring. Am I correct?
We actually added 3 or 4 people. And again, I think the PPP, whatever people say, I think it's the best program the government could come up within 2 weeks. Now, I also have a family in India. We have business in India. India, they shut down and just told people, hey, deal with it, right? There was no PPP, no bailout, nothing. So whatever people say about PPP, it was the best thing set up for businesses because it provided a base case, right? So I think it provided, and now with the new changes, new tweaks, I think it makes it much easier for people to reconcile. So again, as a business owner, you couldn't have asked for more help from the government, right? Now I never realized I would be so happy with the handout from the government, but I guess we all took it, right?
Tony, how about you? Challenges and how you've had to adapt. What kind of challenges do TransFinder specifically face? You know, you mentioned schools being closed, and here you are selling routing software. So how have you adapted?
Well, the challenges is to our software is actually the irony is our product was one of the first developer on it. I'm the one who developed it initially over 30 years ago, and it was all about what if scenarios. And so we've evolved this product, but what I realized that I need to be in what if scenario mode. And so that's something I've learned, that I've designed our software to give our clients a what if scenario. What happens if A or B or C or D? And, I've always learned, you push for A, it's plan A, you start thinking plan B, you've already given up on plan A. That's how I always thought this way, right? It's like, that's just a negative way of thinking. You go all in, right, Nicole? You go in. You got your plan A, don't even think about B. You already given up on B. But something? It's A, B, C, or D, and you really think about it. And it's not that you have to come up with all the scenarios, and that's something that I had to learn immediately, and it's something that we call it pivot. What pivot means, I think that term has been so overused. We actually in the sales team, when we're calling clients and prospect, we'd have some challenge. What's going to be the word of the day? Pivot, and we'd say, how many times did you use the word pivot today? So, right, overused for sure. The word of the year is pivot so far. And the year is only halfway through, and so. But man, that's the number one thing I realized. It's not just the CEO of the company. You gotta have scenarios, and it's not plan A or plan B or plan C. It's just saying, what if scenarios? What if this happens? And by the way, we all have a what if scenario 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we have our favorite. We have our least favorite. Well, that's edge case, worst case scenario. You don't plan for worst case scenario, but don't be caught with your head in the sand, though, if that does happen. And that's really the biggest thing. And the challenge of the company has been, how do we make sure we got the right plan? And we made some good decisions, and we're doing well. I think we are on pace to have the best first half in the company's history, which we got to be. We're blessed. Remind myself, the company, that we made some right decisions, did the right things, and we're fortunate. We have 2,000 clients that need us now more than ever. But it's all about what if scenarios. I think this is something that's my lesson learned that I'll always remember. That it's like, man, we have a product that does what if scenarios, and I didn't really think about what if scenarios. So it made me think so much more wider. Really does. And so I think that's been the challenges to what is your what if scenario? And it's not one, you have multiple, right? And by the way, please put health as one of those what if scenarios. Health, as much as we think, that's one of the biggest things. That what if something happens health-wise, maybe to me, but my family, we never think about this, I hit a big number last year, my birthday, and so it's man, I never thought about that, 50, that's right. And that's a big number. It is a big number for me. And people listening to thinking, no, it's not a big number. Well, it was a big number. Because at this point, you think about everything. You think, what if I get hurt? And hurt, by the way, doesn't mean you just pass out and you're done. It literally happens if you break an arm and, I don't know, you start thinking about this stuff. So it's what if scenarios. That's something that my number one takeaway for sure.
So here's a thought. I think because we've had some of these discussions with some people who have had operations like a warehouse, and they had to make specific changes. It doesn't sound like you guys have had to make jump in if you have had to make specific changes to your operation that people could glean from. I think Nicole touched on it. So maybe you did, Nicole. Did you have to make?
We did. I mean, we did. We again, Kill Bill style. Quentin Tarantino should really be filming at Darn Good Yarn. That's really what should be happening. But we wound up, to stay essential, Amanda and I were able, because we work in China as well, and we have some amazing suppliers there, we were able to manufacture FDA-approved N95. So we chartered 3 flights in out of Shanghai, and we got PPE into like all of the capital region hospitals as everything was being sequestered to go down into Manhattan. So that's really like, we are just finishing up like the last of our inventory. So we stayed open and essential based on that. That was freaking hard. That was really hard and really risky too. Like, I drained all of our bank accounts down to, I think I had $1,000 in my corporate bank accounts one day. And that was like, okay, this is definitely a gut check, and we're sending all of our money to China. Hopefully this works. So, but we did it and we pulled it off. And if you saw the Darn Good Yarn trailer around the capital region the past couple of weeks, they were filled with N95s, and we were delivering them to hospitals.
That is awesome, though.
It was pretty badass. We didn't we were very because it's crazy. I mean, like, when you're receiving big ass shipments and you're chartering actual planes out of China, that's crazy. So, the question though is like how we rearrange this. So if we wound up having COVID hours in the warehouse and there was an infection, that would shut that down. So we, again, we were already in the stripping down stage anyway. Everyone, I mean, we don't let anyone in. Someone's trying to come into even clear off their desk off right now. And I'm like, no, everyone who's working at our warehouse is signing off that they are doing extreme social distancing, to the point where I will subsidize their groceries being delivered. And that's just how it is. And we're all working apart from each other. We're wearing our masks. We're doing everything the right way. And they're grueling hours. Like I said, I was in at 6:30 this morning. I had a 12-hour shift, and you just freaking do it. But this is battle mode. This is to me that battle mode. But the one thing I've seen come out of this is that you watch, especially I have a younger staff, some of them are flourishing under the pressure. I'm just like, damn, where's your management coming from? This is some real stuff going on. So I think that there's
people, how this can bring out the best in people, really.
It's crazy. It's
back's against the wall.
It's beautiful. Some people kind of crash and burn. And I don't know if I have the capacity to help that all that, I think I used to put myself in okay, we're going to coach you through this, but I'm just okay, I got to keep my SEAL team ready to go. And that's where I'm at. I'm I'd rather have a SEAL team moving forward with the company, and really outsourcing like crazy versus having a whole big army, because I don't have the bandwidth to do that.
So then after this, you're going to stop making the face masks? Is that how that works? Are you going to keep still making some as a...
Yeah, I mean, I have suppliers in Poland that are killing it for us on the material face masks. The thing with China right now is that the minimum order quantities are huge, but we were really focused on getting frontline workers what they needed, and we were in a very interesting position for some of my investor relationships to just sort of see what was happening a couple of weeks before the news was reporting on it, on what was happening to upstate hospitals and healthcare facilities. So we were just making every single phone call, you need masks, and our hustle game was definitely on, and we were able to supply that and some other ancillary PPE.
That's awesome.
Nicole, how did that affect your revenue and profit? Are those more profitable?
We didn't attach a huge multiple to it. It was cover expenses. It's kind of blood money in that way. So it's not it paid the bills that it had to pay in terms of cost of goods sold.
Yeah, cool.
And the extra hours. And we're about to donate. We are actually about to donate about $100,000 of PPE to some nursing homes and things like that throughout the region.
Cool. That's awesome.
Wow. So this is for everybody. How has this whole experience, and I want you to think about a young, maybe a startup leader, but you can think about it, just another leader's watching this and say, how has this changed you as a leader? Do you go through this and not leave a different person, or is it just a temporary thing, or do you feel like you have changed as a leader, and if so, how going forward? Anybody? Everybody?
I can start.
Please.
I think again, some of us have been around longer than others. I think I have, again, we have a nice mix of employees. A lot of our employees are 25 and below. They've never seen a crisis. They've never seen the stock market go down.
Right.
They didn't see the dot-com bust. They didn't see the 2009 thing. And obviously, we all had our challenges in the employee market, right? Trying to hire. So you didn't have people and whatever you paid. So I think overall, my personal belief is this overall for the good, because now the younger generation, the millennials or whatever you call them, had a reality check. So they saw firsthand shit happens, things go down, right? And through this process, profit has become fashionable again, right? So earlier profit, no one cared about profit, right? So you had all these companies having like $1 billion EBITDA losses, right? So I think that has definitely happened. I think overall it's for the good. And as an entrepreneur, right, we are always focused on, even as a company is young right now, and as Bill, I would attest, again, the first stages of a business, a new enterprise, you start it, you seed fund it, and then you grow it, and you make it profitable, and then you grow it, right?
But how about you stylistically? Has your style of leadership changed as a result of this?
Not really, because again, this is a challenge which has happened, no doubt, right? But again, the point I'm trying to make is challenges are supposed to happen.
This is a guy, by the way, who has been a textbook, like moves into the incubator, RPI incubator, smallest space, incrementally grows to the next space, goes to the tech park. You know, you have kind of followed the manual well.
Whichever I could negotiate Bela for the lowest rent.
Anybody else? Tyler, have you changed? Tony, Nicole, you guys, if you have, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if you've changed as a leader, how have you changed? And do you see that change carrying into when we return to normalcy?
I'll start. One of the things I've changed is that I communicate significantly more. You know, I was a big believer. A couple of times a year, you do these big, State of the Union. You lay out a big plan, and this is what we're going to do. And by the way, in January, I think I had like a 4.5 hour marathon. I think I had 160, 170 PowerPoint screens, went into our products, went right in there. I mean, I was right in there clicking around, this is going to be our new products, going to get released April 6th. Yeah, of course, Michael from the office, yeah, sure, you've said that for a couple of years now. Yeah, we're going to release it first day of the quarter. Well, let me guess. Yeah, April 6th. And by the way, we did that. And so, a couple times a year to celebrate, rah, this is great. I realized, man, that's not enough. And as a leader, you're not a leader or communicate with the staff to the entire company a handful of times a year. You do it every single day. And it's something I've learned that it's a daily thing. It's not and by the way, I don't have to what else should I communicate today? It's not my news. There's so many successes around me that I want to share it. So significant change. I was this believer, CEO goes out there, 5-6 times a year, makes a big splash, and then, talks to everybody. Again, I'm a hands-on individual. What a takeaway for me.
That's to help keep morale up, right? That's to help keep people in the loop, not let their minds wander, that things are maybe bad if they're not, that kind of thing.
Well, it's something that I really believe. I was being a little bit sarcastic based on but I did many days. I came home, and Rick, I told you so many times, man, I didn't do what I thought I was supposed to do. Somehow, some emergency. And by the way, they still happen today. But man, it's because I'm focused. I don't let those distractions completely derail me today because I got to go. At the end of the day, I got to communicate successes, and I'm not going to blow that. So there's something about that you got to communicate every single day. And I don't think I'm the only person. I do have I have CNBC running almost all the time. Initially, I didn't want to see it, but now it's motivating me. Of course, I see the news. I mean, there's just so much going on, of course. And, but a lot of CEOs are saying that. You're supposed to be more in touch with your company. And I think And it's like, oh, wow, I guess I'm doing a good job with that. So I know that's what I'm hearing. Vikram, I know you do that. And Nicole, I'm positive you're right there. You're in the thick of it for sure. And Tyler, that's the way you are, and especially with your employees and now with Stack coming on board, you're going to be right there. And that's, you guys always did that. And but did you do it on a daily basis, right? And I think this one that you always talk about, Bill, is that, you know, what are you doing on a day-to-day basis? And I took that for granted, you know.
Very good. Tyler, how about you? You a different leader today than you were March, whatever, 13th?
I feel like you ask me these questions and I always give you lame answers.
Yeah, I don't want to argue with you about that, but no, I'm just saying, no, you don't. No, you don't.
Same. You could be the same. Good change.
No, I honestly, I feel like only very, very small things have changed based on this very specific context. And it is around that, you know, I feel like I communicate a little bit differently, a little bit more frequently. But overall, you know, I don't think this really changed me much. I mean, honestly, when it was first happening, I just kind of felt like, okay, this is like the situation that I'm made for and like kind of used to, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
You know, when you bootstrap a business, it's like, you can't see 3 months from now. It's like, I don't know if I'll be in business 2 weeks from now. So it was like, COVID was no different. It was like, you know, just back to where I'm used to.
Bring it on. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I think, again, the only small adjustment was like, I then realized, okay, the folks on my team are not like me, and I should make sure and check in with them more frequently. But
how about this? Is there anything that you used to do that you don't do anymore? Obviously, besides going into the office, but is there anything that maybe you could do in a better environment that I can't do that?
I get a lot of great thinking time out back with a cigar now during business hours. And honestly, it's so funny because one of my folks on my team, he was like, oh, you know, you should bring cigars in sometime. And I was like, why didn't I ever think of that? I was like, that sounds exactly like something I would do. And we'll just go sit in a park and do our brainstorming sessions and smoke a cigar. And so now it's like when I have that time, when I know okay, I got to plot this out. So like, you know, we're going through a lot of like good strategic stuff, like new sales plans, initiatives and stuff. And when I know I need to do that now, it's like I get way more done by disconnecting, stepping out back, smoking a cigar, and like really taking my time. So honestly, I think, forget who said it, maybe it was you, Nicole. Yeah, like working by yourself. Like I'm the same way, like being able to like truly on a day-to-day basis do that and not feel like, oh, if I walk out of the office, people are going to be like, oh, well, now I can't get in touch with them or yada, yada. Now it's like nice and just part of everything. It's.
And my daughter said to me today, I just talked to her about an hour ago or prior to our call. And she said, I feel like I can spend more time on something and not feel like I don't want to just rush through it. I want to spend a little more time on something. And I thought that was interesting. And that was she didn't feel that way beforehand. Nicole, you had a lot of changes going into this before COVID, but do you anything here that you can share that you are a different leader today?
I mean, I feel like I've been very transparent with my staff. And so again, I think it's like all about transparency for me right now. Like it's, you know, this is where we are. And like, even at our morning stand-ups, saying this is our cash position. This is what you need to do in sales today. And if you're not,
you share that directly.
Hell yeah. Because we went into it with a broken wing. Like, you know, we do a lot of our customer acquisition through Facebook. So we have, I mean, like we're dialed into the hour of what's going on. Mm-hmm. So we were already doing some technical cleanup. Just, you know, everything works together in the digital marketing environment. So we're cleaning some things up. And I said, like, if you're working on things that are not sales related, that's the wrong answer. And getting people, even my creatives and people that generally aren't a part of the sales solution, everyone's a part of the sales solution. And just all thinking like how we're aligned to the bottom line in that way. And that was critical. And that, I mean, like that I definitely churned and burned on that. But again, it's like what needed to be done. So in terms of like, you know, like when you do something in life, you're like, this doesn't quite feel right. and I look back over the past couple of years of how we've grown and brought on employees, like I feel almost like I'm a terrible employer. Like I can lead when my team, like when we're aligned and it's that smaller team, and that's what I think I'm really good at. So I think through this, in terms of like my evolution as a leader, like that's what I'm good at. Like I fired myself from the day-to-day, how's everyone doing? Because like, not that I don't give a shit, but like I'm literally trying to keep my business above water right now. Yep. I'm trying to make sure that like, okay, I've gotten 83 unemployment claims from people that worked for me for 2 days. Like I'm dealing with like other things. Not that I don't care about them, but I fired myself from them, so I'm not like a callous asshole, even though it sounds like that like I am right now. But I put someone who's much better at that.
I'm gonna have to learn how to bleep when I edit this.
Sorry, you bring a Jersey girl onto these. I'm sorry, you're guaranteed at least one. So I apologize. But so this is where we landed though. So I think in terms of my leadership, it was just saying, you know what, Nicole, you're fired from things that you've normally done, and that's okay because you have to just say, this is my highest and best use at my company, and really be really unapologetic about it.
So Nicole, what was the trigger point for that? What was the thing that made you realize that I need to transform what we're doing? I need to change my leadership style, right? I need to grow both myself and my skill set and what I do, as well as the companies. What was the trigger point?
It was really getting to know my financials in a bigger way. So as I started to go through like the practice with my CFO, saying, okay, what does this person do? How does it affect the bottom line? What does this person, okay, is this truly a 40-hour-a-week position? Can this be outsourced? And even if you're paying a little bit more, so like really get like in the weeds. And that's where we started to find, I said like, well, gosh, like what is the real cost of this? It's not just what we're seeing in Gusto on the weekly when we run payroll. It's what are all the taxes? Like all of these other sort of leakage points. And when I started to get a more like, I guess, 360 view of what these decisions actually meant to the organization, again, it's just like the next step up for me in terms of leadership. So we started to work in this, I think, just more like zeros and ones. Like I don't, I have yarn behind me. I am a super artistic person. So now I'm like in the zeros and ones place where Vic and Bela, I think like you guys and Tony, even like you guys thrive in that. And like, so I'm having to teach myself that. So that was really the inflection point for me. And, we were stacking up debt. Like it was going out of style. So
how difficult was it to those people that you were close to? How did you do that? Did you have to kind of disassociate yourself?
It's awful. It's like, I mean, you feel terrible because you work with people every day. You get to know about their families. And again, to go from 21 and now we're down to 8 and we're in 6 months into this. I mean, that's more than half of my company is gone. And it's been through me being pissed off because we're racking up about $100,000 of debt a month. I mean, these are like real numbers. And again, we've clawed ourselves out of that hole, but I think also holding people accountable. I wanted to be everyone's friend. Well, it's like, you know what? You're not doing what you were hired to do. And now I'm going to start to turn up the heat. Okay, I'm sorry. This is not working. And that was also, I think, like, so there was like that kind of inflection point and then seeing exactly where that lines up with the financials.
So that kind of reminds me of what you said when we left TransFinder on March 13th. You want to kind of reiterate the idea of everyone has a job to do.
Well, I tell you, Nicole, I started this product. I was 19 years old. I had no idea what the hell that means, right? I didn't know what that meant. At 19, you don't know anything. You have no fear. You don't care. You get older, you start really getting this, and then you start getting a fear. And I like the fear, by the way. Fear is a good thing because it makes it real. When you're not afraid anymore, that's not you get out of the business. But what I told everyone, and listen, the whole friend, I'm a buddy, it's business. It's business, and it's not about friends. And it's something that I want to be friends. I want to be this person. But something, I don't need to know too much because that's something I don't need to be distracted and then have a bias. That? I don't need that. So I think as a leader, we're alone, man. And you got to be alone. Nicole, you're going to be alone.
Yeah.
That's just what happens,
I see some nodding heads.
Tyler, go get your smoke on, man. You don't have to apologize that you're leaving early. during the day. What the hell are you talking about? Because Nicole, you're the one who's stressed out how to make payroll.
Yeah, you smoke cigars too, don't you?
I sure do.
I know you do too, Tony. So maybe there's.
Guys,
I do too.
I can see a team emerging.
As a leader, listen, leaders get no credit when things are going great, and you get all the credit when things are really lousy. That's what happens. So therefore, don't feel. But there's something that Rick, I know, and it was one of my toughest days.
How about we do a follow up on the Transfinder terrace with the scotch and cigar?
Hell yeah!
And I tell you, the biggest thing I asked everyone, and I'm not asking someone to put. I'm supposed to work more hours than anybody. That's just my job. By the way, no one forced me to do this. I chose to do this. So therefore, don't feel bad for me. I tell everybody, I chose this. That's just the way things are. I don't like it. But I asked everybody, just do your job. And if you don't do your job, I got my job. But you got to do your job. And it's very important. Guys, this is a tough decision. And let me tell you, we definitely had a handful of employees that had a tough time. Tough time to adjust on this new temporary normal. Really tough. And you know something? Normally I would have this, well, let's sit down, let's talk this through.
Right.
Are you kidding me? I'm about to lose everything I've done for 32 years. You're talking about this? Don't even talk to me about it.
Yes. Yeah.
You kidding me? Do you understand what could happen? Because what if scenarios? I lose my house.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I'm definitely, jiving off of what you're both saying. Like Nicole, I feel like there was definitely a sense of clarity early on with like, cool, all of the BS is now by necessity on the sidelines. Nobody cares about it. And we're all focused on this one thing. And everyone understands why, we're going to be hyper crazy aggressive about all of these things that are only the important things. So I don't know, for me personally, I felt like, that was a little bit of stress, but honestly it brought like more of like a weight off my shoulders and like a clarity to be like, cool, now we're all on the same page that we got to push, everyone's got to work hard, and this is what we got to focus on. So I don't know, I kind of to a degree wish that it was always like that,
And you could continue making it this way because really it's a good choice. I tell you, it's something that's it's my biggest takeaway that I realized I don't have to be this hard ass guy. I don't have to be.
Yep.
I mean, I don't have to be. I have the title. I own the company. I could do, but at the end of the day, you're dealing with people and they have issues at home. It's just people stuff, guys. Yep. And it's so hard not to give. I'm such a personal person. I want to know everything, but at a certain point, you gotta just have that distance. It's just not fair. Something? When we now are getting we're the record number of employees, and my job is to not just one employee, it's everyone else's family and their kids. The pressure on us is so immense. So therefore, all of a sudden, I gotta feel bad because that person didn't do their job the past 6 months. But feel bad that the other people that are so. And I think it's where these type of situations make it so real that you're like, wait a minute, what are you talking about?
Yeah, but Tony, there's a difference between setting expectations and and clarity about what you expect from people and being a hard ass or a prick. Those are different things, right? And they can be mutually exclusive, but lots of times people mush them together.
That's right.
Because you set a high standard, right? All of a sudden say, oh, that person's ruthless. No. There's a difference between a high clarity and a high standard and communicating it and making sure people understand. And then it's fine. Right? And that's what builds successful businesses.
But I think that there's also, though, a sense of hopefully, and you got to, I guess, where the daily accountability and weekly accountability, you say, you're not delivering. Like, you're not me. So then hopefully there's an internal sense of knowing like, man, this was not a good day. You know what I mean? So that I don't need to be hit over the head. And if I am hit over the head, it's because I know I have it coming to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you can still be compassionate, right? Compassion is a different thing. And an employee should know whether they're doing a good job or not.
Exactly.
If they don't understand whether they're doing a good job and meeting standards or not, then you haven't done your job.
My fault. That's right. It's my fault.
So I'm gonna. This went by fast. I want to go just around the horn with, unless anybody has any last minute things without me asking the questions. Anybody want to piggyback on any of that? Because it's okay.
The only thing I want to piggyback.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Nicole. You go ahead.
Okay, Nicole.
I wanted to ask Vic. I'm curious because you have so much experience, and like, so we're all going through COVID, and you made such a great point. Like, I've been through this crisis and this crisis. Like, where for you did you maybe have change of leadership at some point, and like, what did that look like before and after?
I think again, obviously this was a shock, and this just came at us. No one expected this, right? I think I've been amazed. As I said, our team, obviously we have a pretty eclectic team and a lot of young people, right? About half our team or more than half our team are below 25, right? I've seen a big change in them in the last 3 months, right?
But I think Nicole was asking, like, in that list of your past experiences where there were crises, did you ever have to deal with a change of leadership in any way? Or is that right, Nicole?
Yeah.
And then what that look like? Is that what the question?
Mm-hmm.
So if I understand correctly, you're saying
2008, was that an issue that you had to deal with, some things that you had to change, a change of leaders or a change of approach?
We did again. Obviously, going back, depending on the, we've seen enough business cycles, right? So we have had to change. We have had to basically adapt to employees. Again, employees are very important for all our businesses, right? And again, there have been situations where we've tried our best not to lay off as much as we can, right? Because again, it affects people. But again, it's one of those things. You just anticipate change, right? That's what you should expect.
So let me reminisce a story, if I can, for a second, of back when Vic was in the incubator at RPI and I was running the incubator. And every time I'd go to see Vic and I'd go to him with some idea, right? And he would say to me, his response was always the same. He would say, Bela, what's in it for me? And at first I sort of sloughed that off, right? But it's really it's an excellent question, because he was my customer, right? He was my customer, and he was asking me, okay, what's in it for me?
I love that.
Right? And so that's one big lesson I learned from Vic, in that, you got to put on, and so and your employees in many ways are your customers as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So again, clarity in sort of communicating that is really, really important.
Vikram, you didn't ask me that when I asked you to speak at the Bizlab Clarkson lunch. I think I might have said lunch. That's what's in it for you.
I was just being hard on Bela. I didn't mean it. I was not so hard-nosed the way he's trying to put it.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Bela's got it down. Tyler, you were going to say something earlier.
All I was going to say is that I totally will second Vikram's idea. We should definitely do a cigar Bizlab event.
Tony, you're hosting us?
Yeah, you host. I'll bring the cigars.
All right. I'm there. Nicole cannot be ignored. She says she's a cigar smoker too.
No.
All right, so we're going to go around the horn. I'm going to start with Bela. One takeaway. So this is the thing that really, the one thing you hope that people watching this will take away from this conversation.
So I think this whole crisis is an opportunity for all businesses and all leaders to sort of do that reassessment, to reflect internally, right? And then take action. And I think we heard that tonight, right? We heard that from Tyler, we heard that from Nicole, we heard that from Tony, right? From everybody, in that this is an opportunity. And I think, good leadership pounces upon opportunities, right? They take advantage of opportunities. They don't lament over it. They don't feel sorry for themselves, right? They say, okay, this is the hand I've been dealt. I'm gonna do it. And to me, that's the one big takeaway of the conversation that I've heard.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Nicole.
I think being very honest about your your non-strengths. What are those? Your deficiencies.
Your
And making sure that you're
weaknesses.
making sure that you're bringing in professionals to help you support with that. So, going back to my example, like I consider myself to be more artistic, and then I need to bring in my zeros and one person to help me really refine the way I'm thinking, so I can still use my creativity, but then have pen to paper when we're making these really big decisions. And Bela, I think it's perfect. This is absolutely the time that companies should just be pumping the brakes and really getting a full view. It's like I've been saying the whole time, like we're flying a plane right now. It's a cockpit, and like you have to do the full scan out the window right now.
Very good. Vikram.
So again, echoing what Bela and Nicole said, I think this was a unique opportunity for entrepreneurs to step back and reboot, whether they liked it or not. Again, it was challenging, but again, I'm a member in a bunch of peer groups. So some businesses are more retail, more customer facing, like a car dealer or a car wash compared to us. But I think overall, what I'm seeing is people have been able to use this, figured out a lot of efficiency. Like Nicole was talking, right? A lot of things which she figured out, hey, I can do this much better and much easier. All in all, I'm positive and where things are and where things are going. So
that's good. That's awesome. Tony.
I'm extremely optimistic individual, but I realize it's not a business plan. Being optimistic is not, I mean, you have to be, it's part of what you have to be as a leader, but it's not a business plan. Or I hope things are going to be okay. It's not a business plan. It is not. It's not really. I mean, love it or, I think they're going to get better next week. No, that's not a business plan. A business plan means you have to put it together and you have to have trust. You really have to have faith. And again, part of the communication, it was this great story that I shared with the team about, again, I have a lot of farm. I was born on a farm in Italy. So there's always these farm analogy, right? These proverbs, planting seeds, right? And you always heard about this planting seeds, right? It's a good sales terminology. But when you plant seeds, you don't like 3 days later dig it up saying, is it taking root? You trust it, you plant it, you water it, but you don't have no idea it's actually working until a couple weeks later. Then at that point, it might be too late. Maybe you actually didn't have the right dirt or the right seed, but you have to have faith. And so that's the biggest takeaway, that you got to have faith and you got to just,
But when you say faith, you mean like you have the systems in place, you have you've done the work, the hard work, and then the faith, I got you.
The faith is not that I just hope.
I hope, right.
No, but you put those things together. You worked really hard. And Nicole, man, to go in and spell out all those processes, think about what that means. And again, I tell everybody, so many companies that come out of this, they don't want to go back to normal. I know I don't. And Nicole, you just talked about how you have all these processes. You're going to be this massive company after this because now you have it. You've got it all together. You have a playbook. And by the way, you're not going to take any help from anybody. Say, do it this way. That's it. You don't have to let's think about it. No, we're doing it this way because we survived.
You're battle scarred.
Right? So I think that's where and that's really it. You put a process in, you got to trust it and go for it. And I think this is where I can't speak more about it. There's a lot of great things that I've learned from this crazy event. And I've gone through some, the .com, the 9/11, the economic, the prices of oil being at $5 a gallon. Those all affect my business. So holy cow, did I go through a lot of those things. But what does that mean? Do you just sit in a corner and cry? I've done that too. But you got to eventually, you got to get out of that and you have to make some decisions. And it doesn't have to be, I don't have to be a good friend of anybody. I don't have to be. I want to be respected as an individual. I'll always respect people. But I think nobody wants to go back to the old way. I don't want it. The new way is great, meaning the way business is going, the way we think. I want the old way to hug people and shake hands, dinner. I want that old way back real fast. But the new business, and Tyler, you said it, man. You initially said, I don't know if I've changed. You definitely, think about what you said. You're a different person. Because of you're now going to put thoughts and you're You have your cigar in your backyard, not because you're going to dedicate time to make your business better. And that's something that maybe we didn't do that before, right?
Very good. That's great.
So
Tyler,
guys,
that's great, Tony. That's good. That's really good stuff. Tyler.
So Bela stole my thunder. If you had asked a couple times, I think about like people in various stages of their business, and I would say that this is no different than any other time, except for now everyone has been punched equally hard in the face, and so no one has any excuses right now to be like, oh well, I got laid off, or my business is suffering, or whatever. It's like it's a global pandemic. Like, yeah, everyone's experiencing it. So no excuses. If you got to shut your doors and restart, like do that. But there is so much opportunity right now. Just to put it in the most simple perspective, right? If there are so many retail businesses closing, imagine how cheap you can get into a place tomorrow. So again, there's always going to be pros and cons to every single thing that happens. So if you're in business and you're worried about what's going to happen, it's like you got to find the opportunity and just pursue it aggressively.
That's awesome. So I used to cover entrepreneurs for the Business Review, and I love that beat because I always left these interviews so uplifted. I did, seriously, because these people, optimistic, but optimistic with reality, Tony. So not just optimistic, like I hope it works, but like we're going to make this work. And you know what? Even the companies that failed, I still found them to be still inspiring to me because they were going to, a lot of them, they still took that experience and did something later. It's not okay, maybe that didn't work out, but those people don't die. They just figure it out. They show up in some other, someplace else doing something else that's great. So I leave this conversation feeling incredibly upbeat. A couple months ago, we had one with Rich Honan, and he was just like, I just feel encouraged hearing all of you guys talking, and I think that people who watch this will be encouraged by it. And the last thing I just wanted to say, because Nicole, like your story about just like that gut check and making a very difficult, going down to $1,000 in your bank account. I was just watching a documentary on Walt Disney, and Disneyland was a major, major risk. I mean, he did not have to do that, but he wanted to create a thing for families, a place that, the whole family could enjoy. Well, we look at it like a no-brainer and like what a great success, but he had massive, massive risks. And in the end, we know it was successful. I just want to end on this one quote that I was just reflecting on earlier this week. And it comes from Peggy Noonan's book, What I Saw at the Revolution. And that's she was our speechwriter for Ronald Reagan. And she said that Reagan was the ultimate optimist, to the point where if she wrote in a speech for him, because Reagan had his hands on these speeches, he didn't just like give it, but he would rework some of these, and she would say he would change even the line that says like I'll never forget. So he might say I'll never forget this event, and he would change it, line it out, and say I'll always remember. He just said I want it to be never is negative, always is positive. So even to that line, and so. That's when I see you all, that's how I feel. I feel like, is the glass half empty or is it half full? Or how can I buy the glass? Can I own the glass? Can I repackage the glass?
I'll just drink out of the bottle.
Go to darngoodyarn.com. We'll sell you a glass.
There you go. So anyway, I just want to thank you all for your time. I know you've had very long days. I think that our community will be benefiting from the insights, wisdom, and transparency that you've all shown tonight. So thanks again, and I just hope you guys all have a great rest of your night.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good seeing you all.
Take care.
And Nicole, what's your favorite color yarn?
Purple and rainbow.
All right.
On that note.
Thanks, guys.
Scotch and cigar.
But, yes. Yes.